Hello there. In this video, I will introduce Excel. As you may know, I already have some Excel videos on this channel. They are mainly related to the usage of Excel functions and tools to be tested during the exam. However, some students don't have the working experience in Excel yet, and that is why I decided to record this introduction. Excel is a powerful application for data analytics. Even though there are BI tools on the market, Excel still maintains its importance. The fact that Power Pivot was integrated in Excel from 2010, it makes Excel even much more powerful. Besides, a lot of new improved functions were added last year. These are the learning objectives of this video. So by the end of this video, you should be able to start Excel, understand Excel window, edit and format data, work with rows and columns, enter some simple expressions by using basic functions, and at the end save the workbook.
Let's start by launching Excel. There are several ways to start Excel. You can click on its icon on the taskbar or go to the start and find it there. You can search its name in the search mode and then you can pin it from there on the start or taskbar. Excel opens up with a selection window. Just double click on the black workbook and there is Excel program window. For this video, I'm using Microsoft 365. If you are not sure which version you have, go to the File tab and then click on the account, and there will be visible the account details. You can see Excel window parts here with its names. I will explain them in more details. Window has the title bar that appears at the top of the Excel window. It starts with the autosave. In my case, it is off. If you want to turn it on, you will click on that and it will be automatically saved on the OneDrive. Then you have the quick access toolbar. By default, it has only two common features there. However, if you want to add more, like I did here, you can click on the arrow and select more options. If you want other fields, those are not here, you can click on the more commands and then you will choose it from the all selection. You will move it to this window and then click OK and they will appear there. The next one is the title of the file. In my case, the file is saved, so it has the name that I gave it to the file. By default, it gives you book 1 if the file is not saved. Next comes the search option. This is a new one and it's quite handy actually. You will enter in search your question and it will give you the options. Then is my name here because I'm logged in. After that, I have the ribbon display options and I will explain it later. And the last part is if you want to minimize, maximize or close the file. Well, below the title bar, you have the ribbons and tabs. This is the part of the ribbons. You can find various buttons and options there, and they are divided by groups. You can see the groups names here underneath. At the top of the ribbons are the tabs, and these are the tabs: File, Home, Insert, and so on. For example, the Insert tab allows the insertion of any object. The Home tab shows basic commands of formatting, so a lot of options there. At the ribbons pane, by groupings, you can notice that in the corner there are these down arrows. They offer extra options. If you click on that, you will get a dialog box window, and in this case you can format cells from this part. It mainly the groupings have it, but not all of them. Well, let's talk about the ribbon display options now. In my case, I have the ribbons and tabs open and visible. If you don't want them to be visible and you want the worksheet to have the bigger space, then you can hide them. You will click on this option and they are hidden. If you want them back, you will click on the three dots, then again on the ribbons part and show tabs and comments, and they will be visible all the time. Here you can see the name box. It is useful for navigation and creation of named cells. Now it shows C2, that is the location of my cursor. If I click on another cell, it will change. So now it is G10. Here you can see the formula bar, and formula bar is the place where you enter and edit data. Well, it has three options next to that, that is the cancel, enter, and function, and I will discuss the function option when I go to the description of functions. This is the worksheet. Here you will list and analyze data. When you open Excel, it has by default sheet 1, and you can add more sheets. If you want, you will click on this new sheet extension there and you will get new sheets. You can change the sheet name by double clicking on that and giving it a name. In my case, you can see that this is white and this is the active sheet. So whenever you click on this sheet, they become the active sheets. You can click on the control and then click another sheet if you want to have several active sheets there. At the bottom of the window, there is the title bar. The title bar shows different information at different times. It depends what you selected on your worksheet. For example, if I have data here and I select some of the cells, then it shows the count in this case. If I select the numbers, it will show the average, count, and sum. Also, it shows the different views that your worksheet you want to have, and after that there are the zoom functions if you want to increase or decrease the size of your worksheet. And here you have the scroll bars, and when your Excel file is big you can scroll down and it will show you that part. A worksheet contains columns, rows, and cells. Columns are represented by letters. Rows are represented by numbers. Intersection of column and row is called cell. You can see the cell coordinates in the name box. All the cells together are called worksheet. All the worksheets together make an Excel workbook file. Excel performs calculations over cells. Another language that I teach on this channel, DAX, works on tables and columns. There is no concept of cell there, but it is in Excel. Old versions of Excel had only 256 columns and approximately 16K rows. And I remember those times. From 2016, Excel has 16K columns and approximately 1 million rows. So if I multiply columns by rows, in total, the old Excel had 4 million cells, and from 2016, Excel has approximately 17 billion cells. You can move inside your worksheet by your mouse, or you can use the keys from your keyboard. For example, I'm using my arrows, left and right arrows here. If you double click on the selected cell, it becomes an active cell. Alternatively, you can click on the F2 as well to make it an active cell. You can use the keyboard to move inside your page like home or page up and page down. If you want to open another sheet, either you can click on them or you can use the control page down or page up keys. If you have a lot of new sheets here and you don't see all of them, you can go to this place, right click, and you will see all the sheets that you have in your worksheet. You will double click on the one that you want to become an active sheet and you will see it. If you want to hide a sheet or sheets, you will make them active. I will select two sheets now to hide them, then right click and hide, and they will be hidden. If you want to make them visible again, the right click and unhide. And from the last year, Excel has this new feature that you can unhide several sheets with one click. So I will select the second one as well with the control key and then OK, and both of them are hidden in the same time. You can quite easily copy sheets. The quickest way is to use the Control key from your keyboard in the same time when your mouse pointer is on the active sheet and take it where you want it. If you want to delete it, then just hit on the delete from the right click. If you want to move your sheet to another workbook, then right click and you will see this option, move or copy. You can also move from this option in the same worksheet, but mainly I use the Control key for the same worksheet, and if I want to move to another one, then I will use this option. You will choose from here to which book you want to copy it. In this case, I don't have anything open, so the only another option is the new book. And just click on the create a copy if you want to keep that sheet in the old workbook, and just make a copy and then hit on the OK, and your sheet will be in a new book. When you want to enter data, just go to the cell and start typing. The maximum number of characters you can enter in one cell is 32,000. Excel recognizes text and numeric entries and displays them with different alignment. For example, this data that I entered, that is text, so alignment is to the left side. If I enter numbers here, you will see that the alignment is to the right side. So always keep in mind that you should keep the original alignments there, because it is easy to recognize then if it's a text type or the number type. When you enter text or numbers, you can click either on enter or on tab to confirm the entry. If you want to cancel the entry, for example here, you can either click on the escape, or if you want to delete it, you will just click from the keyboard delete. If you want to edit it, instead of 55, let's enter 54, you can use the backspace and make the correction. You can use the keyboards like backspace and delete for the editing the entries. You can move your cell's data to another place by dropping it by using a cursor. You can select several cells together and move it to the place you want. And don't forget that copy paste, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, Ctrl Z are working here as well. They are the universal combination of shortcuts. You can enter dates by using slash or dash, depending the regional settings and the language settings that you have. Like, let's enter for January 2022. When you enter the date, Excel recognizes it at the date format directly. Please notice that even if you delete this date there from this cell, the cell Excel keeps the formatting in this cell, and if you enter number data, it kept it in the date format. You can change it from here to general, or you can go and clear formatting. When you work with data types, it's important to understand your regional and language settings. For example, in the Dutch settings, you don't use commas as thousand separators, but dots. Regional settings are set for your computer. Your language settings you can select by applications. If you click on the File tab and go to Options, and then click on the language, you can see the language selection that you have. My advice is, if you study or work in English, have the English language selected. You can format your data in cells. Here I have this categorical data. That format is general, that is fine, and then I have the quantitative data. You can notice here that I have the thousand separators here. By default, when you enter numbers, it's not separated by thousands. If you want it to be, then just the easiest way is to go here in the number formatting and separate by commas. If you don't want decimals to be visible, you can increase or decrease decimals from here. You can open Format Cell dialog window by selecting a cell, right-click and Format Cells. Or you can go to the number grouping, click on the arrow there, and you will get the same dialog box. If you want to change the number format, you will select number and make choices. If you are working with the dates, then you will make the choices here. This Format Cells dialog box has other options as well. Alignment, for example. If you want to change the alignment in this cell, you will make selections. Also, you can wrap text there, merge the cells, or if you want to change the orientation of the text inside the cell, you can make it vertical or horizontal. Font changes. Also, if you want to have a border and you don't want to do it from this font grouping, it is possible to do it from here as well. So all the formatting possibilities are available in the Format Cells. So it's a good idea if you just open it and search and try the options that you have here. If you want to split the text in two lines in one cell, you will click on the Alt Enter and then you will enter the text below and it will be split in two lines. Here I have a data range. It is organized in several columns and each column has 22 rows. The first column is the date type of data type. Then there is the quantitative data and I have two columns in categorical data. You can easily change the size of the columns or rows. Like in the last column, the text in the columns is much longer than the column size here. So you can double click there and it will increase to the size that suits the text entered. You can manually change it to the size you want as well. Also, if you want the fixed column size for several columns, you can select them, right click and column width, and you can decide which size you choose for them. Like I chose the small size now, so let's double click there to increase the sizes. The same can be done with rows. When you want to add columns in between, you can select the column and then right click and you can say insert the column. You can do the same to enter several columns as well. The same you can use with entering extra rows in between. Let's Control Z, Z, Z. I don't want these changes there. You can delete rows and columns quite easily as well. You can select the rows that you want to delete, right click and then delete. The same can be done with columns. All this can be done from the Home tab as well. You have in the cells grouping there, insert, delete and format options. When you enter text, like here it's entered Netherlands and maybe I don't have it here and I want to enter Netherlands here. When I start writing with N, it gives me the option directly that if I want to use the same word. So if I agree with the suggestion, I will just click on enter and then I don't have to type the whole word. Also, if you right click on the cell where you want to enter text, there are some drop-down lists available already based on the categorical data that is in this column. So you can choose it from there and instead of typing, just make the choice. If you want to copy several rows, you can select them with the right click copy or Ctrl C and then go to the place you want to insert them, right click and insert copied cells. If you don't want this action, undo and redo fields are available in Excel as well, like in other applications. Now I will make this data range longer. I will select the last cells and when my mouse pointer becomes like this, I will just drag it down and they will be copied below. Now my data range is long, so when I'm at this point, I don't see the field names. In that situation, you can easily fix that. You can go to the view and freeze panes. Like you can freeze the top row, and in that case, the top row is here. If you want more customized column, then let's unfreeze this one. Then you will select the cell, and above that you will freeze the rows and to the left side. So if I click on the freeze panes now, this is my freeze point. If you want to remove that, you will go and unfreeze panes. The solution to freeze panes is mainly needed when you work with Excel ranges. When you work with Excel tables, you don't have to do this manually. You can see that in my video about working with Excel tables. In Excel, you can hold data, make calculations, and analyze it. When you have Excel, you don't need a calculator anymore. Excel recognizes that you are entering a formula because you start entering them by an equal sign. You can use mathematical operators there to define the operation. Well, let's start typing a formula, a very simple one, and start it with the equal sign. And let's say 5 plus 9. When you want to confirm the formula, you will hit enter or tab, and the formula is confirmed. You can see that this active cell and the calculation is visible in the formula bar. You can enter the formula directly in the formula bar as well. You may already know the order of operations from mathematics. For example, if I want to calculate equals 5 plus 6 multiplied by 2, it is 17 because Excel knows that first it should calculate the multiplication and then addition or subtraction. So Excel follows these rules. They are encoded here. And if you want to change the order of evaluation, then use the parentheses there. And you know from PEMDAS that parentheses are the first one and they have the priority in the orders. In this part of the video, I will talk about Excel functions and cover the topics listed here. Well, there are more than 450 functions in Excel that you can use. Functions are categorized according to what they do. You don't have to know all the functions, just know the ones that you need. If you go to the Formulas tab, click there, you will find functions in the function library. They are categorized there. If you check the financial functions, they are the functions you can use if you are a finance person. So this categorization helps a lot to find out for which subject you can use which functions. Well, it starts with the insert function, and that is the place where you can make selection which function you want to use and start using that. You can find insert function also next to the formula bar. If you click there, you will get the same window there. Or you can just start typing the function, enter the equal sign, and then just type the function that you want to use. Excel is a functional language. In every expression, there is a function call. Let's start using the most used Excel function that is the function sum. You can start typing directly in the cell and enter the equal sign first, or you can go and start typing in the formula bar. Let's enter the equal sign in the cell and then use the function sum. So either if you know that which function you want to use, you can start typing it or go to the menus and find it there. Well, for the sum, we don't have to find it, so let's start typing. When you type the function, you will see the syntax of that. It's a good practice to pay attention. How is the syntax organized and how many arguments the function takes? You can see in sum that it takes number 1, number 2, and then you have several dots. That means you can enter as many arguments as you want. If you want to sum this range here, I will just select this one and then hit enter to confirm it. And you will get the sum number. You can also notice that once this is a number, Excel recognized the formatting for that, so it is aligned to the right side. If you want to change the formatting and you want to be separated by comma, you will go to the home and number formatting grouping and change formatting there. You can sum the range of a column or of a row easily by using this button, Auto Sum. You can find this button at the end of the Home tab or in the Formulas tab, it's the second one there. Just hit on that without making any prior selections. Hit enter and you will get the sum. Check anyway if the selection that it made automatically is correct. If you are happy with that, you leave it like is, or you can make selections there. You can make changes there by manipulating this blue line. You can find some other functions in this button as well for the quick average or min and max, and also more functions are available from there. Personally, I like using the keyboard when I want to have some quick sum. I go to the cell, I hit on the Alt and equal, and then it is summed. So it's a quite quick way. Well, other functions I've listed also here that I want to discuss in this introduction. Another quite common function is the function average. That is the arithmetic mean, so it returns the average of the arguments. So in the first case, in the sum, we summed this range, and we can do the same if we want to calculate the average from these numbers. It will work in the same way, only instead of the sum, you will enter the average there. Let's format this number and move to another function. For the quick format, let's select the cell that you want to use the formatting from that one. Click on the format painter and click on the cell that you want to format in the same way, and it will be formatted. Now, the function count. Function count, it will count cells that contain numbers. So let's type it, count, double click on that, and you can see the syntax looks the same with the values and 3 dots. So it can take as many arguments as you want. Just make the selection and hit enter. There are several variations of the count. Like this count only counts the cells that contain numbers. If you want to count the cells, those are not blank, you will use the next version of the count function, count A, selection, and it will count. By accident I selected the numbers again, so move this back. I wanted to select this categorical data, hit enter, and you will get the count of the cells. Well, let's talk about the references now. If you double click on the cell, you will see the reference that is used in the expression. By default, Excel is using the relative reference. That means if I move this formula down, the reference will change accordingly. And in this case, if you want to keep this reference where it was, like we want to reference this cell, you can make it the absolute reference by selecting the cells and hitting F4. And then you will get these dollar signs there. That means it is the absolute reference. If you copy the formula down, the reference will stay the same. So double click and you see it's not changing. And if you want to use another function here, because I want to count the blank cells, for example, you can just retype the formula count blank hit enter. There are no blanks, that's why it's correct, it shows 0. Function max gets the maximum value and minimum gets the minimum value, and their syntax looks the same like the syntax of the sum and average. So if you type max, select this, hit enter, make it absolute, and we can reuse this expression. Select it, hit on the F4, then copy the formula down to the minimum and just change the formula here, and you don't have to retype it. So the minimum from these numbers is 40. So one more example where this cell referencing is important. If you want to increase sales, like increase the unit sold, and you want to increase by 10%, then let's enter equal this multiplied 1 plus the percent increase. And you want to make it dynamic, because whenever you change your mind and you say, I want to increase by 15%, this expression will automatically update. And let's copy this formula down and see what happens. We have only the relative reference here. So this cell is the relative reference and this cell as well. Here we want to keep the relative reference, but let's see what happens here if we keep it as relative. Double click on the cell. Well, this was the relative reference and it should be so because we want to calculate the increased sales row by row. So it should follow the formula. However, this increase rate is not entered here. We want to use this reference. That means when you enter the expression in the first cell, you should make this cell as the absolute reference. So select it, click on F4. And when you copy the formula down, it will calculate in a correct way. Let's double check, double click on this. So this is the relative reference and this cell is the absolute reference. Sometimes you will need to mix references. You can also manipulate that from here. For example, if you select the cell, hit on the F4 again, then you will see that the referencing is removed from the columns and it stays in the rows. And sometimes you want to fix only the rows part and you want to keep the columns part as the relative reference. In that case, you can leave it like that. Or if you want to have the columns as the absolute reference and rows as the relative reference, then you will hit F4 again. If you want to remove these dollar signs, then hit again. So by using the F4 key, you can manipulate the referencing quite easily. Date and time functions. If you want to check which date and time functions are available in Excel, go to the Formulas tab and check Dates and Time category, and you will get the list of the functions. If you prefer to use the windows from here, you will double click on the function and enter the arguments there. However, I will show you by starting typing the function and entering the syntax arguments directly there. Let's start with a very easy date and time function that can be quite useful as well if you want to enter today's date and you want it to be updated every time you open your file. You will enter today just without any argument there, and you can see on the syntax as well. No arguments are recorded there, so no mandatory arguments. Just hit enter and you will get today's date. Well, let's expand this cell because this date formatting was longer than this cell. If you want to change the formatting of the date, you will go home and you see that it recognizes the date format automatically. If you want To make changes like have a long date or the short date, you will make the changes there. Alternatively, you can right click and go to the format cells and change it from there as well. Find the layout that you like the most. Another quick way to enter today is by using the keyboard. You can hit on the control and semicolon and you will get today's date. Just the difference is this one is dynamic. Every time you open the file, you always have a date that is that day. And this is just fixed. So it depends on the situation which one you want. If you want to have it fixed, like today you were working on that and you want to have the fixed date, you don't want it to be updated, then this is the quite good way. If you want it to be dynamic, then enter the function there. Well, next function and quite a useful one in tables as well is the function month. Quite often, when you have the downloads from other systems, you have maybe transactions by days, and then for the visualizations purposes, you want to view them as the month and year, because when you make the visuals, you don't present them by days. So it's quite common and useful to visualize them by month. So for that one, you can use the function months. It takes one argument. Just click on the cell that you want to use as the argument for the month function. It will return the number between 1 and 12. Function year is working in the same way. So I've selected this function as the argument, this cell as the argument, and this is the year 2018. The next function I want to show is the function text. Actually, text is a text function. It's not the date and time function, but I've included that in that list because I'm working with the date arguments there. Well, let's see the syntax. Text will return a number of the that you supply as text. So my first argument is here, this date cell. And then there is the format that I want it to be visible. And I've entered 3Ys in quotation marks. And when you see this 2019 that it returned is in the text format, you can recognize it how based on the alignment. It's aligned to the left, so Excel recognizes the text and text is by default aligned to the left side. Let's change this Ys and enter the day, for example. If you enter it 3 times, it will show the day as the text, only Saturday. If you enter number 4 day, then it will show the full word. So you can manipulate formatting here, but don't forget the quotation marks. Well, the next function, and this is the date and time function, is the workday. You can supply date there and it will return the nearest working day in number of days. And let's test it and it is easier to understand. Well, workday, you will supply the start day and let's click on the today's date as the first argument. And let's see what will be the working day in 4 days. So 4 there, and these are the only mandatory arguments. And close it. So in 4 days, in 4 working days, the date will be 12 because it is Thursday at the time when I'm recording this video and weekend is coming. So the next in the working day in 4 work days, it will be 12 and not the 10th of January. So in that case, it can be the useful function when you want to calculate based on the working days, and this work and weekends are automatically excluded from there. And if you want to include the holidays, then you can enter it in the last argument manually or make a list of holidays and enter that as the range. Well, next one, networking days. I've already entered it, so let's double click on the cell and check the references. It takes three arguments, and the first two are the mandatory ones. So you will supply the start date there and the end date. So this is my start date, this is my end date, and it calculates the working days in between. The holidays as the last argument you can supply as you wish. So this means that the networking days between this date and another day are 259 days. Well, these were the basic functions that I wanted to show you in this introduction video. I have other videos on my YouTube channel where I discuss more advanced level of Excel functions. I still want to mention that you can nest Excel functions in each other, and you can nest 64 functions in one expression. And I will give one example now. In this workday calculation, and let's double click on that, I used this cell as the reference, and this cell was based on the function today. You can also nest it directly in the function. So if I type function today here and just close the parentheses here, it will work the same. And this is a quite easy way to show how you can nest the functions in each other. Well, when you want to edit the function, you will go either in the cell or in the formula bar, and you will make corrections there, so editing is quite easy here. If you want to see the cells in your workbook where you have formulas entered, there is a quite quick way to do that. You can hit on the Control and tilde. Let's hit there, and then here you see the cells with the expressions and with the functions. To go back, hit Control and tilde again, and you don't see them directly. Errors in Excel. Everybody makes mistakes. It can be a typo, it can be a wrong operator, or the wrong cell reference. When you get this error message, you will go to your expression and make corrections. And this different type of error messages also will help you to understand which type of error you made. For example, if you get this division error, it means that you were trying to divide by 0. So that means denominator was somewhere in the cell 0. And from mathematics, you know that you can't divide by 0. However, there can be the situations you still want to push this calculation because some of the cells have the 0 denominator, but some of them not, and you want to calculate them. Then there exists the function if error that will avoid this error message, but that is outside of the scope of this video. Then here I've listed other types of errors that you can get, and here are the meanings for that. What you can expect, where you made mistakes, and where you should look into to edit your expression. For example, let's make one mistake here. Let's go to this text calculation that we made and remove the quotation marks here, because I've mentioned that if you want to format this as text, you must enter it in quotation marks. What happens if I delete them, if you forget to enter the quotation marks? Then you will get the error message name, and it means the text in the formula is not recognized. So it is a quite easy way that reminds you that the mistake is somewhere, and you will go there and make corrections. Saving your file and opening a new one. When you work in Excel or in any other applications, don't forget to save your files. If the file is already saved and you can recognize it from the title, it says the saved and the title is not the default title. You can just click on the save or click on the Control and S and it will be saved. If you want to save as the new file, you will go to the File, Save As, and click there and give it a new name. You can print your file from here as well. Well, nowadays we don't really print anything. However, if you need that, you know where to find, and you will make all the corrections there. If you want to open a new Excel file, one of the ways is to go to the file and click directly there, or go to the new and click there, and the new file will open up.
Hope that from this video you learned how to start Excel, understand Excel window parts, write simple expressions with basic functions, and save your file. Don't forget to practice though. Hope this was helpful to start working in Excel and discover its possibilities. Please subscribe to my channel and check my other videos for more functions. And please let me know in comments if this introduction was helpful and if you would like a video about another topic. Hope to hear your feedback.